gonna talk about my 10 favorite songs from the Foo Fighters. There'll be timestamps in the description where you can navigate through the video and playlists where you can watch other videos like this. I've done top 10 songs for a couple different bands. I'm kind of flip-flopping between what I call classic rock bands, bands from like the 80s and earlier when they were big, and the newer bands. So this falls in the newer bands category, bands that were big in the 90s and like since then. So what I do is I talk about the songs that I think are the 10 best. I talk about what I think makes them cool, maybe some facts about them. I don't play any music in this video because there's copyright issues if I do that, but I make 10 shorts. I'll make one for each of the songs, and then you can watch those if you want to, and they got the songs in them. You can listen to them that way. Again, all that stuff's in the description. So, Foo Fighters, formed in 1994 in Seattle. They were kind of famously, I guess, started from the ending of Nirvana with the unfortunate death of Kurt Cobain. So Dave Grohl was drummer in Nirvana, started Foo Fighters. Initially for their first record, it was really just him. He was the one doing all the stuff. So their first album was a self-titled album in 1995. Since then, here in 2025, they've had 11 albums that are like studio albums. The early days of the Foo Fighters, it was Dave Grohl pretty much doing everything in the studio. And then like when they'd play shows, it was some guys and some emo bands from the early days and screamo bands and hardcore bands. Sunny Day Real Estate was a band and Scream was a band. Sunny Day Real Estate was like Seattle area, I believe, like Pacific Northwest. And then Scream, I think, was more like a DC area hardcore band. Guys in those bands were in the early kind of Foo Fighters versions. And then Pat Smear, who was in Nirvana towards the end, like touring with them, he was in Foo Fighters early. He kind of came and went in the band. But then, you know, for the most part of the band being like big and successful, it's been 5 or 6 guys, 4, 5 or 6 guys, depending on the years. They've kind of added people over the time. No one's really left other than Pat Smear's left and come back. Everyone who's been in the band has kind of stayed in the band once they started kind of gaining notoriety. The exception is kind of their drummer, unfortunately, passed away in 2022. And they have a new drummer, Josh Freese, who's been in like every band that's you've ever heard of, pretty most part, is like super famous drummer. So he's playing with them, kind of makes sense if they got to have somebody. He's the guy who kind of fits. They've had 15 Grammys, I think over 30 nominations. So for like every other nomination, they get a win for something. Pretty big success rate, I would say on that. 2021, the first year to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. They were inducted into the Hall of Fame. So a huge band, huge rock band, kind of keeping rock alive for a lot of the 90s and 2000s when rock was kind of dying in certain times. So listen to all their music, all their albums, all their EPs, all this stuff, and this is what I think the 10 best songs are. White Limo from Wasting Light in 2011. It was a single and it won the Grammy for Best Hard Rock Metal Performance in 2012. So it was a digital download before it was a single. So it wasn't the first single that was released, but it was the first song from the album that you could hear, which usually doesn't work like that for most stuff, which is kind of cool. It has a very heavy, hardcore punk, but kind of meets metal. Those are different styles of music, and this kind of blends them in a kind of a unique way. There's really aggressive screaming. You don't get a lot of really aggressive screaming from Dave Grohl in many songs. He can do it really well. He does it awesome in the Darling Nikki Prince cover. This song, it sounds like the guitars are really heavy at first, I think, but they're not. They just have really awesome tones. It's very Queens of the Stone Age. You know, Dave Grohl does a lot of stuff with those guys, and it gives me Queens of the Stone Age vibes. Music video is really cool. It has Lemmy, R.I.P., bass player, lead vocalist from Motorhead, a hard rock metal legend in the music video. Is pretty awesome. So kick-ass song. Stranger Things from Echoes, Silence, Patience, and Grace in 2007. This album won the Grammy for Best Rock Album. Half of the album is acoustic, and there's a lot of really good Foo Fighters acoustic songs. And this is the only real true acoustic song in this list. If I made a list of 11 through 20, maybe there'd be more, because they are some pretty awesome songs. But this is the best of the acoustic songs, true acoustic songs they did that I think are awesome. So what I understand is like they had half the songs on this, so it's like regular rock songs with most of the instruments you're used to hearing, and then half of it was more acoustic. What it was inspired from was just like on the previous tour, they did some acoustic stuff and they got, I think, inspiration from that is what I read. So it's kind of neat. This is a long song. It's twice as long as some of the other songs on this list, but it's just got such a great vocal performance along with the acoustic stuff. The acoustic guitars sound great, but immediately he sings. First thing he says is this goddamn. It sounds so awesome. There's this part where he says maybe a bunch, maybe, 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 maybe. And that part sounds so cool. It's recorded great. Sounds like it's just a raw performance, you know, with a microphone in the room, them doing it. Got an awesome, legit guitar solo, acoustic guitar solo that you don't get a lot of acoustic guitar solos in songs. So just awesome. Dear Rosemary from Wasting Light in 2011. Like half the songs on this album were singles, but this was not a single. But I think it's a great song. It has a very 80s rock meets kind of new wave. Part of what gives it the sound is a Bob Mould from Husker Du is in this song. He plays guitar and he sings. He's in the like bridge outro part, I believe. So this song has really cool drums, I believe. I think they have like a Ringo Beatles sound to them. So all those different elements just make it a cool, unique song. And again, it wasn't a single when a whole lot of these songs were, but it's one of the best songs on this album for sure. Arlandria from Wasting Light in 2011. This is my third song from this album in the list, but it is the last song. I do like this album a lot. This song was a single, and it has a really cool kind of fuzz octave riff with the guitar in the intro. The drums kind of stop for a minute when they come back in. They do this really cool part with the hi-hat. I love it. I think the drums and the hi-hat stuff they do in the song is probably what makes it my favorite song from this album. The vocal delivery, he does this like fast, repetitive part with his guitar bends that sound really, really cool. You get a more aggressive vocal. You get more aggressive vocals from Dave Grohl in general on this album, but you know, this song for sure has more aggressive vocals for sure too. There's a nursery rhyme part towards the end, and the song is about a place from Virginia, his childhood home. He yells like My Sweet Virginia in it. So the nursery rhyme part kind of fits with that, I think. Really cool song. Everlong from The Color and the Shape in 1997. This is probably their most famous song, and a lot of people would probably put this higher in the list, I would suppose, if it was their top 10. I do like this song. I just think there's better songs in there to come. But anyhow, the song is about a chick who Dave was really into, and she was the singer in a awesome band called Veruca Salt, and I think she does background vocals in the song as well. There is a really, really famous acoustic version of the song that was done impromptu on Howard Stern that also made the song really, really popular. The song is often used to close out their shows. It's the most played song, at least at this time of recording this in 2025. This is the most played song the Foo Fighters have ever done live. So a huge, integral, maybe most famous Foo Fighter song, and a really good song, but there are better songs. Breakout from There's Nothing Left to Lose in 1999. This was a single, and it was also on the Jim Carrey, Me, Myself, and Irene movie. Super funny movie. Check it out if you haven't seen that. But the song's got a really cool flanger used in the guitar in the intro. There's open strings he's hitting with that flanger effect to make it sound really, really awesome. Chris Shiflett, who's their lead guitar player, I guess, been in the band for a long time. He's one of 3 guitar players now. But he's in the music video, but he wasn't on, I don't think, on the song in the studio. So it's the first time he shows up kind of in the band. And the song's got really cool hi-hat parts in the verse that I think are awesome. And this is another one of the songs that has really aggressive screaming towards the end from Dave Grohl. I like the songs where he does his really aggressive screaming. They're my favorites for the most part. Monkey Wrench from The Color and the Shape in 1997. This was a single, and this had Dave Grohl playing the drums in the studio, but you did get Taylor Hawkins for the first time in the music video, showing up for the music video for this song. This has really fast, like double picked, like you pick it twice each note, really cool sounding intro that I like a lot. This almost has like a punk rock meets thrash metal kind of vibe to it a little bit. The vocals are very, very clean, kind of almost clean punk pop sounding until the end. And in the end, it's got a really gnarly, kind of almost one long scream, really aggressive verse. And I think that part at the end is what makes this one of my favorite songs. Big Me from their 1996 debut self-titled album. This was the last single from this album, and for a lot of people, all they probably knew is that it was the drummer from Nirvana. And then you hear this song thinking Nirvana, and this song sounds like the Monkees, like meets the Yardbirds or something. But man, it's just musical songwriting genius. I believe the song was about his then wife, but he's doing all the stuff Dave Grohl is on this song in the studio himself, you know, the Prince way of doing it, so to speak. And it's just a great, great song. And it's probably not what anybody expected to hear if you just learned about who the Foo Fighters were and all you knew was, Dave Grohl was in Nirvana. Wheels, a single from the 2009 Greatest Hits album. This was one of two new songs that was recorded for that Greatest Hits compilation album. This song was played one year at the White House for a 4th of July celebration, which was pretty cool. I love just kind of almost the simplicity of this song. There's nothing crazy or super flashy about it. It's just a great song. I love the count out in the intro, like where they count off the song when they come in. Super, super cool. Love the background vocals that are in the chorus. I think those two parts of the song make it awesome. My number two Foo Fighter song because of those awesome parts. I'll Stick Around, the second single from their debut self-titled album in 1996. This song is about Courtney Love, and it's got very, very aggressive vocals, and it makes sense for what the song's about. If for as aggressive as kind of the vocals are, the music, especially in the verses, is very sophisticated, almost has like a jazz kind of feel to the guitar and the drums. It's a little bit more harder hit in the choruses. And then, man, it's just songwriting perfection and genius. I think it's awesome because it's Dave Grohl, first album. He's doing all the stuff himself in the studio, but also just like the songwriting. It's awesome. He does two choruses, like doubles up on the chorus the second time around. And then he does the I'll Stick Around at the end with the outro, the way it like leads up to that. It's just so great. So, I mean, perfect, perfect song from the Foo Fighters on their debut album. Really, the Foo Fighters are Dave Grohl, so it makes sense that their best song is from the album that he was doing all the stuff himself on, and about Courtney Love, who famously had a lot to do with the band he was in before, the Foo Fighters.